Welcome to the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, this meeting for October the 30th. The year is running down very quickly. Usually prior to starting the meeting, we always invite local clergy to come and to lead us in prayer. This morning would be no exception. Mr. Burke was supposed to be here today. Every once in a while, they run into situations where they're not able to be here. So I will stand in the gap for him. If you would like to participate in prayer, please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've made today. And Lord, we thank you for the special occasion where we get to remember that Veterans Day is quickly on its way here on November the 11th. Lord, we have those who are in attendance today who have worn the uniform in the United States of America. We ask and we thank you that they're here today, that they continue to share their stories about the valor and the honor that they show to impact the United States and to provide our freedoms. Lord, we ask you to be with all of those today who are in the uniform of the United States of America, here and abroad. We ask you to be with those who wear the uniform of the sheriff's office and those in law enforcement, first responders, EMTs, and paramedics, for they go away from their home every day and leave their family to ensure our safety. And we are very grateful for their service to us and to their community. Lord, we just ask now that you be with all those who are in attendance today. We ask that you grant wisdom to those who will participate in this meeting, that the decisions that are made make Clermont County a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Be with those who are ill and afflicted and unable to be with us today. Join them again once they are revived back to their health for the next meeting. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. Corcoran. Commissioner Corcoran, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Call this meeting to order. First order of business on the agenda is the approval of regular session minutes of October 23rd, 2024. Board, you've had these minutes early, had an opportunity to review them. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Been moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Like to move an item up on the agenda here. We have new employee introductions this morning. And the first group up is the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, Angie Livesay. I understand you have a couple employees you would like to introduce.
Good morning, board.
Morning.
We have Emily Loudermilk, who is our new administrative assistant, and Ursula Miller, who is our communications coordinator. Emily has lived in Brown County her entire life with her husband of 11 years, Doug, and their two beautiful daughters, Ava and Harper, and their spoiled pets, a dog named Zelda and a cat named Dixie. She spends her weekends on the soccer field cheering on her kids. She enjoys crafting, sewing, and painting. She loves reading and spending time with her family. She's worked in the medical field, I think, up until now, and then she joined us here a few weeks ago. She's excited to serve her community and be as helpful as possible, and she and Ursula are both fitting right in with us. So,
Great.
And then you can stay here. And then Ursula is our new communications coordinator for the county. She worked in a similar position with the city of Cincinnati for the past 10 years. And prior to positions in local government, she worked in marketing for Xavier University. She spent the first 10 years of her career working in several different states as a newspaper reporter, which brought her to Cincinnati and the Cincinnati Enquirer from Boise, Idaho. Her previous experience includes leadership roles at a public relations agency and in a corporate position as director of investor relations. She was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. She is married to Dean, and they have two children, a daughter in graduate school at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks, and a son in the engineering program at UC. Welcome aboard.
Welcome to.
Thank you.
She gave directions.
Next up is Community and Economic Development, Bruce Crace.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to introduce our newest inspector, Steve Evans. Steve is a lifelong Clermont County. He He's been in the electrical field for 7 years, an electrician for 7 years, and should be becoming an inspector. It's a good segue. He's passionate about bowling and spending time with friends and family, especially his 4-year-old son. His career goals are gain his ESI certification, that's his electrical safety inspector certification, become the best inspector possible. We're happy to hear that. Some more facts. Well, his dad was in the military, he had to spend a year in Germany, person. And Steve also is an 8-year National Guard veteran.
Nice.
Thank you for your service. Some of his wish lists are live in California and do whatever he would like to do.
They do that there.
And the best advice he was ever given was anything worth having is worth fighting for.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well,
Steve,
Thank you.
welcome to Clermont County. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up is Water Resources Department, Lyle Blue.
You got a crew today.
They all just started on Monday, so they're
Great.
very new. All right, first up is Jimmy Griffiths, right here. Jimmy is working as a maintenance technician in our water distribution division. He currently lives in Bethel. He's originally from Georgetown, Ohio. Prior to coming to Clermont County, he worked for about 6 years at DHL. So we're happy to have him on board here at Clermont County. Next is Seth Barr. Seth is also a maintenance technician working in our water distribution division. He currently resides in Morristown. Is that? Yes, sir. Okay, and I knew I'd say it wrong. He went to White Oak High School. Prior to coming to Clermont County, he spent about 10 years working in the farming industry. So we're happy to have him on board. He has some equipment operating experience and so forth that he brings to us from working on the farms. Next is Clay Boyle. Clay is working as an operator 1 in our water treatment division. He's currently working in our Bob McEwen water treatment plant on first shift. He grew up here locally, went to Milford High School. He spent 4 years in the U.S. Air Force as a radar, airfield, and weather systems technician. So thank you for your service. He also went to UC and has an associate's in business information technology. And most recently, prior to Clermont County, was a field technician for Spectrum. So he also will, since he's an operator 1, he'll have 2 years. We were just talking about, he'll have 2 years to get his Class 1 water treatment license. And last but not least, we have James Halterman. James is a design engineer 2. He has a bachelor's in civil engineering from the University of Cincinnati, a master's in civil engineering from Ohio University. He's a licensed engineer in Ohio and Kentucky. He has about 10 years of civil engineering experience, primarily in geotechnology, materials testing, and he currently resides in Goshen. So he's local to us, and we're happy to have him on board. He's going to be doing a lot of the subdivision, commercial development plan reviews for us.
Good.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming, and we'd like to get a picture of all the new employees if you would come up.
Can you get in? All right.
All right, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. One more, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody.
Right, put it right up there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Welcome. Next up, we have a couple proclamations. I understand that Steve, you'll be accepting the proclamation? Okay, and we'll have two. I know you were only planning on one, right?
There's two. Come on up.
Both of them
Come on up.
approved.
Come on up.
This is Steve Belso, who's with me here. He is a sergeant major, right? United States
correct.
Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
And he is the director of our Veterans Administration here in Clermont County. Steve, thanks
Correct.
for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me,
You
sir.
bet. Thanks for. I have a proclamation for you for Veterans Awareness Week in Clermont County. Whereas the Board of Clermont County Commissioners proclaims the week of November 11th through November 15th, 2024, as Veterans Awareness Week to celebrate and honor the patriots who have fought to protect the democratic ideas that are the foundation of our country. Whereas we as Americans owe a great debt of gratitude to those who have sacrificed our liberty and for the security of our nation, we should express deep appreciation to our veterans, the men and women who stepped forward when America and the world needed them, triumphed over brutal enemies, faced hardships, liberated continents, and answered the prayers of millions around the globe. And whereas through their commitment to freedom, Americans veterans have uplifted the lives of millions and made our country and the world more secure. They have demonstrated to us that freedom is the mightiest force on earth. We resolve that their sacrifices will always be remembered by a grateful nation. And whereas we encourage our veterans to speak out about their experiences so that their memories may be preserved for future generations, and further encourage citizens to participate in patriotic activities within their communities, we call on the citizens of Clermont County to observe this week and remember all who answered the call. Therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the week of November 11th through the 15th as Veterans Awareness Week in Clermont County. We urge all citizens to recognize the valor and sacrifice of all of our veterans through ceremonies and prayers. And it's signed by all three commissioners, myself, David Painter, President, Claire Corcoran, Vice President, and Bonnie Batchelor, member. Steve, on
That's
behalf of the
fantastic.
Clermont County Board of Commissioners, please accept this proclamation for
Oh.
Veterans Awareness Week.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. You bet. If you didn't know, every year here in Clermont County, we light up our government buildings in green. And the reason that we light them up in green during Veterans Week is to bring attention to the VSO and the services that you offer for veterans. Many veterans who have served never seek those services.
Correct.
And so we want to try to do everything that we can to raise that awareness.
That's great.
So here's a proclamation for the Operation Greenlight for veterans. Whereas the residents of Clermont County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all men and women who have selfishly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and the way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Clermont County seeks to honor these individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veterans service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than 52 billion federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. Whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civil life in the near future. Whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during the transition from military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas Clermont County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Therefore, let it be resolved that with the designation as a green light for veterans, Clermont County hereby declares November 11th through the 15th, 2024, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. Therefore, let it further be resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Clermont County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all of those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve our freedoms by displaying a green light in a window of their place of business or residence. Steve, on behalf of the Clermont County Commissioners, please accept this proclamation for Operation Greenlight.
Thank you,
bet.
sir.
And
Thank
let everyone know that we appreciate
We
it.
will.
You
We
bet.
will.
We'd love to get a picture with
Oh.
you and those who've come. The
Absolutely.
podium is yours.
You know, just thinking of some of the words that Commissioner Painter said. What we have in Ohio is an anomaly. That there's a veteran service office in every county. And I will tell you, going through the state of Ohio, Clermont, I'm spoiled. Other counties are jealous of what we have here in Clermont County because of what you as an administration and commissioners have established and set forth that underpins my office. I understand the gravity of the abilities of my office and my responsibility towards our taxpayers. It doesn't come lightly. So just know that we do everything we can to support our veterans in a judicial and fiduciary manner so that their lives are made better. But it's further enhanced by what the commissioners have granted in these proclamations today. So thank you, Clermont residents, taxpayers, and specifically, thank you, commissioners, for what you've set forward for us today. Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you. You bet.
I feel spoiled. I get two of them. This is great.
I don't want to stand next to it, but I can both.
Okay, sure.
I told you once.
How's that? What do you- All right.
Ready? 2, 1.
Stand up, Kitty.
All right, and we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. I understand that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take this Pierce Township people anywhere. Before we move on from our proclamations this morning, just for everyone's awareness, the reason for the pink ribbons and most of our staff adorned in pink today, or semi-pink, it's for recognition of Cancer Awareness Month. And we didn't want the month to go by without the county making that recognition for everyone who has ever experienced cancer or who is going through the terrible time of it now. It is nice to remember those people and say a prayer for them. Thank you.
Let me just add, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I said it last year and I'll say it this year. Ladies or gentlemen, persuade your wife to go have the mammogram. I'm living proof, early detection, 14 years free. It does work, so. Thank you.
Board, we will move on with our agenda. We have reached the public participation section. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to address the board during this time, the board doesn't answer questions nor engage in a debate. No member of the public will comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the county commissioners. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker will speak once and be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the rules, each person will have 5 minutes that your comments will be limited to. Is there anyone that would like to address the board this morning? Sure, sir. Go ahead, come to the podium, tell us your name and your address.
I'm Wayne Carlisle, and I live at 525 Elm Ridge Court, over next to the expressway over by the mall. Anyway, the reason I came, I wanted to, it's about the shelter. And I know it's been a kind of a pain in your old side to try to figure out what you're going to do with it. Personally, I think if you hire somebody outside, I don't think anything's going to change. I really don't, because first of all, you're going to lose a certain amount of control when you put somebody under contract. I've placed an application in for the job. My background, I spent 9 years in the military, 6 years Navy, 3 years Coast Guard. I was mayor of Walton, Kentucky. Also spent 6 years as a council member there. Spent most of my life in sales. And I can tell you, when it comes to dealing with people, I was sales manager, and salespeople are the most difficult people to manage that you can think of. And I think the shelter is going to need somebody that is a good manager, knows how to work with people. And you're going to need somebody that knows how to get animals to trust you. And if animals don't trust you, you're not going to be able to work with them. I've got 2 foster dogs. I got 2 foster cats. I've got a couple of little cats that run the neighborhood, one here and one in Florida, that have taken up with me, and nobody else can even get close to them. And I just showed a lady here a picture of the one that where I live at that is sitting on my lap. And I also think that you're going to need somebody that's a good administrator. I can do that. And the other thing is I think you're going to need somebody who knows how to fundraise. I'm also right now, I'm the president of Yesterday's Kids Senior Softball. We've got about 225 players. And over the last 6 years, I have went out and got the sponsors for us. So, and raising money, when it comes to fundraising, it's a very simple thing to do. You ask for money. You ask for it. If you don't ask, the answer is no. So and by the way, if I would be in the position, get your pocketbooks open, because I'm going to ask you for money personally. So I think that I would do an excellent job for you. I'm kind of a little bit OCD, so cleanliness, I'm kind of a stickler on that. And I would definitely make sure that that shelter would be spotless. I can guarantee you that. I sent emails to all of you that are sitting up here, and I appreciate the time that you've taken to look at it. And like I said, I think you need to make a decision pretty soon of who'll come in and do the job and do it right. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Next.
Deanna Smith, and it's 4231 Edinburgh Drive, Cincinnati 45245. I want to start this, Claire, with you. Sorry, I always want to mess up your last name. So,
It's all right.
I am sorry that you were spoke to like you were spoke to the last meeting. I'm sorry to have witnessed that, because we pay as a community, as a country, as a county, a ton of money for anti-bullying campaigns. And that, in my opinion, is not the way to conduct yourself in these meetings. We have kids committing suicide over being bullied. And thank goodness that you're a little thicker skinned than that, and you're here fighting the fight today. The gentleman that did that, his techniques are different than mine. I recognize that. However, I know he and I are on the ultra conservative side. Actually, I moved left so far from center that I am the radical conservative. Anyhow, I just wanted to say that. Same token, I do not understand why he cannot film at the shelter, because we're dragging Channel 5, Channel 9, Channel 12, Channel 19, whoever will listen, they're getting drugged through there. And I've heard people say, well, it upsets the dogs. It's no more upsetting than a news crew coming through. And it gives the appearance, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it gives the appearance that there are things to hide. Check the auditor's office, and that property is deeded to you three, the commissioners. However, it is we the people, it's our property, and he should be able to film there, with the exception of maybe somebody's private office where somebody's personnel files are or something. But that's my 2 cents on this. The Roger Vogel situation. I held my tongue about that till I could see everything. And I watched the video from both the inside, you can't hear the two of them, and the outside. I don't know Alex Price from Adam. In the video, he looks like a younger man. And you have an older gentleman that we can all relate to. We've had the grandfather that said his piece, no matter what. And I think by his body language, that's what Mr. Vogel was doing. Before we even got to the 911 call, or before we even got to them separating, and Roger Vogel walked away. He walked out the door. Before we even got to that part, Alex was on the phone calling 911. And he followed Mr. Vogel out the door. They were already separated. There was no reason for him to go out that door and antagonize that older gentleman even more. He called 911, and the tape said he hit me with a leash. Roger Vogel never had a leash. I believe Alex Price knew he didn't have a leash, but now he's on the phone with 911 using our county resources, calling sheriffs over there for what was no more than a jawing back and forth, filing an assault charge against a gentleman for no good reason. We need to speak out against that. Alex Price needs to have a sit-down talk with whoever is over him. And that is not how you conduct it. If there's a fire, if somebody's fighting, if somebody's bleeding, yeah, we use our resources for that. But he pulled sheriffs over there who have spent plenty of time in the last 2 months out on 32 and, trying to solve real emergencies. They were called over to that shelter for nothing more than a jawing back and forth. Someone needs to talk to Alex Price about that. Now this gentleman has to appear in court on Friday, and I hope if you guys have anything you can say about it, that you ask that those charges be dropped. I don't know I didn't look at it. I don't know what Mr. Vogel's criminal record is, but if he has none, and now he has an assault charge on his record that he has to answer any place he volunteers or something, that is opening us to liability. And it was just completely uncalled for. I have a lot more I wanted to say, but man, that time went quick. So the last 7 seconds, I want to tell the veterans in here, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifices. Many of us will never know what it was.
Anyone else? You're all right. In the back, yes?
I do want to make something clear to start with, that I'm not referring to the commissioners here.
Could you tell us your name and your address, please?
My name is Sandra Schaller-Burkmeyer. I live at 1874 Woodville Pike in Goshen.
Thank you.
You want to pull the mic down? Maybe people could hear you that way. That's better.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. In our Clermont County government, we have numerous extremely serious problems. Several powerful people and departments of our court system have a flagrant disregard for the law. There is an obvious contempt for the citizens who who have major concerns regarding how those problems are being handled. Some are afraid even to voice their concerns publicly for fear of retribution from the police and county prosecutor. I believe such legal abuse is called lawfare these days. Examples of our government versus individuals with concerns for abandoned animals. The case of the county dog shelter. There has been chaos, lack of concern or attention for the dogs and the facility, poor supervision, abuse of the animals, leaving the dogs in unclean crates 23 of 24 hours, no exercise, no health care. The volunteers were taking sick and injured dogs to their own vets and paying the bills for them. Many of them have stopped coming to help because of these problems. Yet there is over $1 million available for improvements in this situation. I personally know of a perfect person to take over as administrator's position. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in animal sciences, has worked with some of the top veterinarians in the country, has had a lifetime of caring for and showing animals, plus an impressive resume. She also trains service dogs. Her most recent sweet service graduate is now living with a nonverbal autistic child in Mason. There are actually solutions to all of our problems. However, the county prosecutor, Mark Tekelvey, has no time to deal with the funds available for the shelter, apparently. He does have time to destroy the lives of hardworking, good, honest Clermont County residents and families, however, whose only crime is wanting to rescue and take care of lost or mistreated animals. He has these people who love animals charged with animal abuse, etc. They are then told that they must pay the court outrageous amounts of money for the care and upkeep of these animals taken by the county. These people were taking care of those animals. This is why ordinary, well-meaning people involved in any kind of rescue are getting upset and nervous. This is why one woman charged with abuse of her dogs had to give up her rescues to the county. She didn't have the approximately $200,000 for the charges they wanted to make to care for the animals she had been helping. Does anybody think any of those animals are going to get better care at our dog shelter in its current condition? One of the women trying to improve the shelter was told of an elderly man who was looking for an older pitty to adopt. The shelter has a pitty, a difficult breed to get adopted. He had a prior bad experience with our shelter and hesitated to come. But this determined woman, who has rescued many animals in her life, convinced him to try again. The man and dog were a perfect fit for each other. Unfortunately, she has been fighting against the lawfare problem with the county for 16 months over 4 horses that she, with her veterinarian, were rehabilitating and rescued. She had 3 of them for 3 weeks, 1 for 3 days, when the county stole them from her along with her daughter's show horse, who was with the top 10 in the nation in her class. And it was given to her by her grandfather. This was a beautiful Palomino that they had had for 11 years, no abuse. End of story. Although she has not been found guilty of anything, she was told to leave the shelter in this recent incident. She did, and so did the elderly man who wanted the older pit bull. He will not be back, and this poor dog may not have another chance, along with many others. Sadly, this abuse of power goes far beyond the shelter issue, but the same person is responsible for so many of the problems that the county and its residents are having to deal with. Anybody wants to say anything?
Anyone else? Yes.
My name's Nikki Potts, still not Cox. I live at 902 Carpenter Road, Loveland, Ohio, Miami Township in Clermont County. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today on my behalf. I was quoted last week by Stephanie Freeborn several times. I did not send Stephanie to speak on my behalf, and some of the information she reported was incorrect. However, I do believe that her passion is needed for the animals of Clermont County. I did speak with Claire Cochran and Angie Livesey on Friday, October 11th, regarding Bordeaux, who was at an off-site location. I was told by Angie that Bordeaux could be brought in for an evaluation for medical treatment. Bordeaux didn't need a vet tech. She needed a home. I was then told the shelter wasn't able to provide that for her, and to continue to wait was inhumane. I was then told that Angie needed to reinvent the wheel and a new chain of command to transfer dogs to rescues, and it would be presented to the commissioners on Wednesday, October 16th, and if approved by the commissioners, she could be transferred out at that time. As for medication, I did contact the commissioners for medication for Wilbur, who's now happily living his buddy, and had it in minutes. I contacted the commissioners for approval to take Linda May to the vet for happy tail and allergies, and I had that approval within the day. I come here today to say, as just a poor country girl whose father would be ashamed of her for not standing up to her word, we as a family have been in Miami Township since business was conducted with a handshake, and you sure as hell better follow through. I remember as a child, my horse escaped the field and was in Mr. Weber's soybean field, sadly now Bridle Path subdivision. I was crying as I was responsible for any damage done to the field, and if an arrangement couldn't be made, my horse would have to be sold to pay the damages. I also remember a gentle farmer trading a 6-pack of beer to an 8-year-old kid and an apology for any damage done to his field. How did we get so far away from trying to work with our neighbors, working with our commissioners, working with our politicians to make things better? All I want is for the animals to have a better shot. That's it. Get people who know rescue, get people who know the shelter, and listen to them. Believe me, we are crazy. We will drop everything we have and run to help an animal. Now comes the point that I address for myself. I come today, as I did on August 18th, 2024, when I went through orientation for the shelter. The same person that went and picked up starving horses over 4th of July weekend in Pikeville, Kentucky in 2023. The same person who fostered Angora and Lionhead rabbits from Clermont Care and had them spayed and neutered and placed in homes, or took cats in need and placed them in homes in May of 2022 when they were evicted from a mobile home park in Batavia and left on the streets to die. I'm also the same person who took for kittens from Teresa Fox in Clermont County when they needed major medical help from a bad inoculation, and she was told to get rid of them as the county doesn't take cats. I'm the same person who cried on her way to Beachmont on Monday because someone hit a deer. I watched a little buck beating its head against the interstate as not one EMS worker had the respect or the knowledge to place a blanket over his head to protect him from the lights of oncoming traffic or put him out of his misery. Nothing has changed. You can ban me from the shelter, but you cannot stop me from standing up for these animals. You won't stop me from standing up for the people who donated plasma twice a week to pay for dog food. You won't stop me from advocating not only for the dogs, but for the horses, the donkeys, the pigs, cattle, and even the guinea pigs. I will be a voice for those who cannot protect themselves. I know each and every one of you, and you truly hurt me yesterday.
Anyone else? Mr. Hicks?
If you care about the animals, if you could hand these back, I'm going to have audience participation during my time. Am I ready? So my name is Chris Hicks. I live at 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio, but you guys might have that memorized at this point. I appreciate the chance to talk. I want to clear a few things up from some things that were said before. I'm the one that told Claire Corcoran to shove it. And here's my view. Not enough citizens tell politicians to shove it. I am proud to have told her to shove it because she challenged the integrity of Miss Potts for not being here when a lot of us have to work during these meetings. And for a politician to sit up there and critique a citizen for not taking off work to come to a government meeting is asinine. And I have no regrets. And I'm telling you, you said you're conservative. I love you. I'm going to tell you I love you. But if you're conservative and you don't have the view that politicians need to be told more and more to shove it in our country, then you're not a real conservative. Okay. All right. So And I also appreciate the reference. I trust you probably saw the video of Mr. Vogel and the 911 call because of me. Okay, because these people would never release it. The government that says they serve us would never want us to see it. They have to make a citizen jump through hoops to get the material so that it can be distributed. So I want to get to the key things. First off, and Nikki, I'd like you to be there. I'd like you to be there too if you can. There's going to be an event November 1st, Miami Township Library, a roundtable. I think we've got some good stuff. And Wayne, I appreciate you want a job, but I didn't hear a lot of shelter running experience in your resume you gave. And this is going to have a shelter operator talking about what's really involved with shelter operations from an operation on a medical standpoint. It's going to have a roundtable with a lot of the activists and volunteers there. And I have invited somebody from the county to be there. Angie could be there to talk about how the RFP process is going to work for a shelter operator. Will you guys commit to somebody from the county being there to cover the topic? What's the county RFP process going to be?
We're not here to answer
They
questions.
want your vote, folks. They love you. Okay, remember what Dan Bongino says. You're very important. You might not like this to realize that all politicians really deep down hate you. Okay, and why would they say 4 meetings ago they're going to put out for an RFP? There's no RFP out. And I keep pointing out again and again, they already had an RFP. And the issue with the RFP was not the RFP, it was agreement on the price. So I'm going to hand these down. And those are for, and while we're doing it, right after that, they have their names on it, so you just pass it on. And then I have one of these for each of you, so you can take that and hand it down. Each person can take one there. But that RFP, that's the 2020 RFP. We had 4 meetings. It's funny, before an election, we're going to get an RFP out on a shelter operator, but we can't figure out how to do it, even though we've had RFPs, and the issue wasn't the RFP, the issue was agreeing on the price. Politicians. I'm a conservative Republican, a real one. We need to quit having mediocre people in office in Clermont County that claim to be Republicans. This is not the way. Could you imagine a spouse treating you this way? You know, why don't politicians treat us like humans? You know, if they really cared, it wouldn't take more than a month to get an RFP out the door when they already have an RFP for this. Now, the last thing, I gave you the handout cards. Because, you know, it's kind of a running joke, and it tells you kind of how dumb politicians are, that I can come up here week after week. Can I film? And then they don't let me film, and it just makes them look stupid, right? Okay, why would you do that? It just tells you the mediocrity of the political class. Anybody by now would say, let them film, like, get it off the plate, because they know I'm going to keep coming back again and again. But they're too dumb. They're too arrogant. They feel too protected. That's the political class from county level all the way up to the federal government. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but the political class is separated from us. And that's why they need to shove it a lot. Okay? So I've given out these cards. Got 52 seconds left. I'd like to see cards. You guys, can you hold up the cards too? Either put up in the air, let him film today at the shelter, or do not let him film today at the shelter. I realize government employees can't do this because they get fired. Okay, so let's see. Can any of our elected leaders that won our votes on Tuesday hold up their cards? Let them film or not let them film? So look at the audience. Everybody in the audience, it's kind of like a Trump thing. Will the camera guy show the audience right now in the video? No, he won't show the audience right now. Okay, but would one of you hold up your cards? Let's just pause here. Just hold let's see if we can hold our hands up for another 10 seconds. Can one of you, one commissioner? Okay, guys. So they're the ones that keep showing over and over again. Save your cards. Save your cards. Bring them to the next meetings you come to. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? You've already spoken.
But my name was brought up in this last conversation.
I understood.
I'd like to address
You-
it.
I yield my
Well,
time
I'm-
to this gentleman.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Um,
Come to the podium so they can hear you.
Again, my name is Wayne Carlisle. I live at 525 Elm Ridge Court. Mr. Hicks said that I didn't have any experience running a shelter. I was in the Navy when I was 18 years old. I was put in charge of a signal bridge, visual communications. And my job was, if I didn't make the right decisions on which way ships were supposed to turn, I remember I was 18 years old, and they ran into each other, we had a problem. I didn't have any experience when I was elected mayor of Walton, Kentucky. I did a pretty daggone good job. You can ask any of the citizens out there. I ran sales forces. I'm an old farm boy. I left a farm because I decided I didn't want to be a farmer for the rest of my life. So I went into the Navy. But when I went in, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I had to make some decisions on things and what I was going to do as far as that goes. One of the things I had to do was get education. I quit school when I was just barely into the 9th grade. Got my GED in the Navy, got my bachelor's degree from Thomas More, was awarded my high school diploma from the state of Kentucky, from Simon Kenton. So when somebody says I don't have the experience to do something, if you start a brand new job, do you have the experience for that new job? No. And I don't know what I'm going to run into if I do wind up over there at the shelter. I've never seen it. Just like Mr. Hicks said, you're not allowed to go back. And I'll tell you something. I've got two rescue dogs. I have 2 rescue cats. I've got a Chihuahua. And if you know Chihuahuas, they've got a really nice temperament. This little guy spent six homes in 6 years until we got him. And he is one of the sweetest little dogs you ever want. But if I had went over and started looking at pictures in a book at the shelter, and I saw some dogs I liked, but I'm not allowed to go back and see all the dogs. And somebody said, well, I got a cute little Chihuahua back here. I said, no, you can stick that little Chihuahua where the sun don't shine, because I don't want a Chihuahua. Until I saw him and I fell in love with him. So you got to see the dogs before you can make a decision. Don't bring a dog out to me and say, here, you're going to love this one. Maybe I won't. Maybe there's one back there that when I look at him and he looks at me, it's a connection, just like that, just like a relationship. So don't tell me I cannot run a daggone shelter. I got to watch my language. Don't tell me I can't run it. I know what the heck I'm doing. I'm smart. Like I told you, don't get me in there, because I'm going to go out and get money. If you guys don't want to give me money, I'll go get it, because I know how to do it. Not only that, my partner is an excellent fundraiser. She used to raise money for Mercy Hospital. She used to raise it for the shelter. She used to raise it for senior citizens of Clermont County. That's my partner. So if you think we can't raise money, you better take another guess. And Mr. Hicks, I respect you very much, but I can handle the job.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
You bet.
I would like 30 seconds to respond since he mentioned my name. You just let him respond because I mentioned.
I'll give you 30 seconds. Go.
Okay.
Shouldn't mention anything.
Hey, Wayne, I'm sorry, I love you, man, but you don't have any shelter experience. If somebody wants to run a shelter, go start a humane society. That's what the state does everywhere. Humane societies run shelters. You obviously don't know a lot about fundraising, because governments can't just raise money like a nonprofit can. But the point is, if anybody feels, if this starts to become a job interview up here, that people want the job, that's a vested interest. So I'm taking you at good faith, but the reality is, if you want to become a shelter operator, go work at a shelter. If I want to become a McDonald's manager, step 1 is work at a McDonald's. Okay. And then come back here and talk about it. Even better, get together with some other people and start a humane society, get them to get the bid out the door, and then reply on the bid. Okay. There's a reason why I'm still waiting for any county other than ours that has the government operating a shelter. These are supposed to be Republicans, and they've made the shelter a government function when nobody else does that, because humane societies can raise money. They have nonprofits. They have arms for handling cats, all those things, Wayne. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. 30 minutes for public participation.
Our 30 minutes for public participation is up at this time. I'm going to conclude that now. So thank you. Thanks for your participation. We're going to move on with the agenda. Item number E is the consent agenda. Board, consent agenda has been approved for you. You've had the opportunity to review it. Are there any items that you need removed from the consent agenda for further consideration?
No.
Then I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number F starts the non-consent agenda on page number 3. Item number 6, it's a recommendation of the Board of County Commissioners adopt Resolution 132-24 to approve payment to vendors in the amount of $2,178,299.40 as outlined in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated October 30th, 2024. BCC directed prepaid invoice reports and the procurement card transaction report is presented by the county auditor on 10/28/24, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 7.
Morning.
Morning, how are you?
All right, this is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 133-24 for authorization to file an application on behalf of the Clermont County Board of County Commissioners with the Ohio Department of Transportation in Columbus, Ohio, for the Urban Transit Program Small Urban Bonus for the state fiscal year of 2025 in the amount of $197,995, and to authorize David Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, or in his absence, any other member of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the standard state assurances and compliances in the terms and conditions of the application.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 7. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Jessica. Item number 8.
Item number 8 is a recommendation to appoint the following representatives to serve on the Family Services Planning Committee for the purpose of gathering public input, reviewing and making program recommendations, and developing and maintaining a community plan to implement Ohio Works First. This is all pursuant to and in compliance with Section 329.06 of the Ohio Revised Code and other programs established under Chapter 5107, Ohio Works First Program, and Chapter 5108, the Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Plan of the Ohio Revised Code. The Family Services Planning Committee members will all be serving a term of 1/1/2025 to 12/31/2027, and they are as follows: Andrew Mays, Director, Clermont Transportation Connection; Bill DeHaas, Director, Clermont County Senior Service Incorporated; Billy Koontz, Executive Director, Clermont County Community Services; Chris Curtin, Clermont County Educational Service; Jennifer Winters, Leanne Watson, Director, Clermont County Mental Health and Recovery Board; Daphne Reeves, Clermont County Department of Job and Family Services; and Philip Rich, who is the Legal Aid Society of Greater Cincinnati.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 8. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 9.
Morning, Pam.
Morning, Pam.
Pam Haverkos, Clermont County Emergency Management Agency Director. Item number 9 is a recommendation to acknowledge the filing of the Federal Emergency Management Agency FY23 Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant Program funding, and to authorize Pam Haverkos, Director of the Clermont County Emergency Management Agency, to execute the state and local grant agreement by and between the State of Ohio, Department of Public Safety, Ohio Emergency Management Agency, and the Clermont County Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $50,000 with the required local match of $16,666.67 to be provided through in-kind services by community stakeholders for the total program budget amount of $66,666.67 for the 5-year review and update of the Clermont County All Hazard Mitigation Plan required by FEMA, effective for the period of September 25th, 2024 through January 15th of 2026, and to designate Pam Haverkos as the authorized agent for the Board of County Commissioners, who shall be responsible for the administration and implementation in compliance with the terms and conditions of this grant. So the grant amount may change. So the grant was applied for almost over a year ago, and FEMA is just now awarding that grant to Ohio Emergency Management Agency. They're the grant administrator, and then we'll be a subrecipient. And when we applied for the grant, we solicited estimates on how much it would cost to hire a contractor to help us with the planning process. So this, the grant award is based off of an average of the estimates that we received. So once we approve allowing me to sign off on the grant agreement, and we get the grant agreement back from the state, we'll solicit quotes again, and then the state will update the grant agreement. And our in-kind contribution will be based off of that percentage. The in-kind contribution will come through the participation of our community partners. So we will track all of those that participate in our planning meetings, that participate in the review, and that's how we will show that in-kind contribution. So at the end of the day, the award will most likely change, because we had, again, when we solicited for contractors over a year ago, they ranged from $40,000 to over $100,000. So we will solicit all of the available contractors and then move forward with it.
Thanks, Pam. All right, you've heard the reading item number 9. Do you have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any conversation or questions for Pam? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much. And we'll start all of that process in January of 2025.
Thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Item number 10.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
I'm Ryan Kent with the Clermont County Department of Community and Economic Development. Item number 10 is a recommendation to accept the proposal and execute the contract for professional services between the County of Clermont, Ohio, and the Timmons Group, 1001 Boulders Parkway, Suite 300, Richmond, Virginia, 23225, relative to the ArcGIS Enterprise and ArcGIS Portal Implementation Project for Clermont County, for their proposal received on 9/26/2024 at a cost not to exceed $17,000, pursuant to the terms and conditions in the contract and contingent upon release of the required purchase order.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 10. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or question? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Ryan. Item number 11.
Morning, Terry.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Terry Brandenburg, Human Resources Assistant Director. This morning, I have a recommendation to amend Appendix 4.09 of the Clermont County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual with respect to the Clermont County Classification Plan as outlined below in an Exhibit A attached thereto and to be made part thereof, effective upon approval, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly. So this is to add a position of Geographic Information Systems Developer, class number 69230, pay range B, and also to add a Kennel Administrative Assistant, class number 79905, pay range 12. And then the following items are pay range changes. So Kennel Receptionist from pay range 5 to 8, Kennel Attendant from pay range 6 to 9, Kennel Supervisor, pay range 10 to 16, Veterinary Technician Assistant, pay range 10 to 14, Veterinary Technician, pay range 11 to 15, and Deputy Dog Warden, pay range 11 to 15.
Board, you heard the reading of item number 11. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion?
No.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Terry. Item number 12. Morning.
Community and Economic Development Director. Recommendation to adopt a revised table of organization for the Department of Community and Economic Development to add one geographic information systems developer, class number 69230, pay range B, and to administratively remove one geographic information systems analyst 2 position on January 1st, 2025, as outlined above in the attached Exhibit A, effective upon approval, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 12, I believe. Is that
Correct.
okay? Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And moved in second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Chris. I'm number 13.
Morning, Angie.
Item number 13 is a recommendation to adopt a revised table of organization for the Clermont County Kennel to reclassify one kennel receptionist full-time, classification number 79903, pay range 8, to kennel administrative assistant, class number 79905, pay range 12, as outlined above and in the attached Exhibit A, effective upon approval, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Thank you. Item number 14.
Morning.
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 Doug Roy from the County Engineer's Office. Item number 14 is a recommendation to award the bid for project number RS 1624 relative to the 2025 Road Resurfacing Program Phase 1, located in various township and municipalities, to Barrett Paving Materials out of Franklin, Ohio, for the lowest and best bid received on October 3rd, 2024, in the amount of $1,752,394.95 from American Rescue Plan Act funds, and to execute the contract in compliance with the terms and conditions and contingent upon issuance of the required purchase order.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Thank you for the money.
You bet, Doug. Thank you. Item number 15.
Item 15 is a recommendation to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Clermont County Commissioners and the Union Township Trustees, Union Township Community Improvement Corporation, relative to the design, permitting, easement acquisition, inspection, and construction of a 12-inch water main through Clermont Park from Summerside Road to Wood Thrush Drive, excuse me, located in Union Township in compliance with the terms and conditions of the MOU. So the township has plans to build a splash park in Clermont Park, and they need to run a 4-inch water line back to that splash park. We've had issues surrounding the park off Bark Salt Run and some of the other side streets back there with water hammer, particularly when the fire hydrants are being exercised. So it was last year or the year before, we had completed a surge analysis of the area to come up with solutions to help reduce the number of water main breaks that were caused during that as a result of the water hammer. The consultant actually had recommended a 12-inch water main through Clermont Park that would loop from Summerside Road to Wood Thrush Drive. It's about 2,000 feet of 12-inch water main. So when I heard that the township wanted to run a 4-inch water line back, I said, let's put the two projects together, run one water line. So part of the MOU, the township is going to pay for the design and donate the right-of-way associated with the water main. We're going to pay for the construction of it. So,
okay. Board, you've heard the reading and explanation of item number 15. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further clarification? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item 16, Law.
Item 16 is a recommendation to accept the contract between Clermont County and American Suncraft Company out of Medway, Ohio. This is for project number 6401-60200 for the Afton and Goshen elevated water storage tanks, inspection, evaluation, rehabilitation, and coatings application project located in Williamsburg and Goshen Townships as complete as of November 2nd, 2023, and to approve the application for payment number 3, which is the final and represents a progress payment in the amount of $49,350 and the release of retainage in the principal amount of $46,411.20 plus all accrued interest.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Moved in second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 17.
Item number 17 is a recommendation for reappointment of the following individuals to serve on the Clermont County Board of Developmental Disabilities for the terms outlined below pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 5126.022 and 5126.0218. That would be Elizabeth Jensen of Milford, Ohio, and Eric Thompson of Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is both their first full terms, and that would be January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028.
Board, you heard the reading of item number 17. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Batchelor? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 18.
Item number 18 is a recommendation to approve the application of the Young Women's Christian Association of Greater Cincinnati. It was sent via email on 9/16/2024 for the release of funds to be collected as fees for the issuance of marriage licenses and for the release of funds to be collected as additional fees for the filing of each new action or proceeding for annulment, divorce, or dissolution of marriage from 1/1/2024 through 12/31/2024, pursuant to sections 3113.34 and 2303.201D of the Ohio Revised Code. This is for the operation of the House of Peace, a shelter for victims of domestic violence, for which the funds to be collected from 1/1/2024 through 12/31/2024 are estimated in the amount of $36,993.30 collected from calendar year 2023 fees. This is all pursuant to and in compliance with section 3113.35B of the Ohio Revised Code.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 18. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Before I'll enter a vote into this, I think we've had this conversation many times. You know, this particular money is collected under an ORC. Keep in mind that the ORC requires that if a domestic shelter requests this money, that it is upon us as creatures of this state to grant these funds. However, I have always voiced an opinion as to what certain organizations use these funds for. So just wanted to make sure. I've went on the record a couple of times about this before. I will vote yes, but only because the ORC requires it.
Well, in addition to that, these are particularly for funds to help pay for getting copies of marriage licenses, birth certificates, et cetera, that are required by the courts before they can file their motions and get out of terrible situations. And this technically goes for those funds, which really is a good support. Thank you.
And it's not about the work for me, it's about the organization. That's all.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 19.
Morning, Board. I have a recommendation to resolve to approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 181-23 for calendar year 2024. This is two supplemental appropriations. The first is narcotics unit, Clermont County Drug Unit Bargaining Unit salary, an increase of $20,000. And then the general fund Sheriff Road Patrol Bargaining Unit salary, $215,000. And this has to do with the 24 through 26 bargaining rates for the sheriff was approved in April of 24. So this is the increase in the bargaining to get the sheriff's office through the end of the year.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 19. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. That concludes our non-consent agenda. Tom, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Commissioners, we do. We have actually three additions. The first is our
dog adoption fees for November. So I think we're going to authorize temporary setting those fees for November. We have a change order 14 to the contract for Filger Campus. That's our phase 1 project. And our third is a professional services contract for an HVAC replacement juvenile detention facility.
Board, you've heard the need to add three items on the agenda. Do I have a motion to make the addition?
I will make the motion to add.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we'll take the Clermont County Animal Shelter Resolution first.
Me again. This is recommendation to adopt resolution number 134-24, hereby temporarily lowering the county-imposed dog adoption fees for dogs adopted on November 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024 for dogs aged 12 months and older to help alleviate the unusually high number of dogs being cared for, fed, and housed pursuant to Section 955 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Board, you've heard the reading of the resolution for continuing with a lowered adoption rate. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation? And that's going to remain at $60. Is that what the recommendation is?
Correct.
Okay. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Commissioners, I believe Chris Turner, are you introducing this or?
Change order 14.
Morning.
Morning.
This is a change order 14 for the Filliger campus. This is a recommendation to authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, or in his absence, any other member of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 14 to the contract with Monarch Construction Company at 164 Sherman Avenue, P.O. Box 12249, Cincinnati, Ohio, for the construction of the Filliger Campus Improvement Phase 1 project, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 5/31/2023 and subsequently amended with a net increase in the amount of $90,467.76 for a total adjusted contract price in the amount of $18,812,652.32, as more fully described therein, with an increase of contract time by 61 days, resulting in a new substantial completion date of November 27th, 2024, in compliance with the terms and conditions of the contract outlined below. So there was a couple items that were needing to be added for the fire marshal. Obviously, there's some more bollards in there. Mechanics bay lift power, that's in the engineer's side. Provide an additional fleet maintenance building airlines. So those are actually airlines to the lifts to keep airline stuff from running across the floor for safety items. Revised door hardware and push buttons at the front door of the engineers. That was not designed, and that was a request of the engineer. And then we also have the project time extension, which is granted for the 61 days.
Board, you've heard of the need for change order number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. But then I have a question about, there's a maintenance air compressor electric you said was like number 5 on that. What was that? Where's that going?
So the fleet maintenance air compressor electric is actually in the mechanical room.
Okay.
That's just obviously going to supply the electric for that compressor.
Thank you for the clarification.
Anything further?
No.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Chris.
And the next change order, Chris, are you introducing that or?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a recommendation to execute a professional services contract by and between the Board of County Commissioners, Clermont County, Ohio, and Mott's Consulting Engineers, DBA Mott's Engineering at 447 Morgan Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45206, for professional engineering services for the design of the HVAC replacement at the juvenile detention facility, in accordance with the scope of services identified in Exhibit A attached thereto and made part thereof, at a cost not to exceed $134,000, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein. So this is going to this is for the design and eventually replacement of the HVAC system of the juvenile detention facility. That is an older system. Throughout the years of repairing, it's getting to the point now where it needs to be replaced. This also will help change a little bit of the airflow inside the gymnasium, which was not actually designed up to, I don't want to say to specs, but not designed to a working comfortability. So it's going to redo some of that design in there also.
Board, you've heard the reading and explanation of the need for an HVAC replacement engineering services. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Got all the additions at this time?
That's all, sir.
Thanks, Chris. Since we have dealt with the additions, we will move on to item number H. I'm requesting a executive session pursuant to 121.22 G1 of the Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment or discipline of one or more public employees. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thank you. We will move into executive session. We will return and we will conduct further business. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. There were no actions taken and no decisions made. We will move on with our regular agenda. Our next item is I. It's county elected official discussions. Sandy Tahat from our Human Resources Director is here today about a new personnel policy, Chapter 4.
Commissioners, before we start, I just want to, because I'm not on the agenda for this, but I just want to let the commissioners know I am working on the request for proposal that was brought up today. I have been working on it, and I will continue to work on it and get it to the board as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
I just want to make sure I
You've kept
noted
us
that.
abreast of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy, podium's yours.
Good afternoon. As stated, I'm here to review Chapter 4. So bear with me. Chapter 4 has 12 sections. I have withheld 2 of those, being vacation and tuition assistance, so that we can have further discussion. So today I'm just going to go through the remaining 10 sections, if you will.
Okay.
So Chapter 4 encompasses compensation, evaluations, benefits, and I will highlight pretty much, as I have with the other chapters, the key points that I think are contextual changes that the board would want to be made aware of. I have provided each of you individually redline copies of the entire policy so that you could review those. And I will come back in hopefully one of the first sessions in November to review the other sections and see if there's any other questions after you've had more time to review this.
Okay.
Because I know I handed you a lot. So starting with 4.02, I will say attendance. So our policy currently requires absence reporting within a half an hour of an employee's start time. I added language in there that departments with operational needs involving minimum staffing levels, that they can set an earlier notification within their departmental policies should that be needed. And the first department comes to mind is like our 911 center. So they may need a little more time to get coverage for that. I also added language that the county reserves the right to require an employee to provide a physician statement if we feel that's needed. And then with the emergency closings or weather emergency closures, that non-essential staff may be able to work remote if there are jobs or there's work there for that to happen at the department head's direction there. Our current policy indicates no compensation will be paid if no work is performed. I did add there unless the board otherwise authorizes. The reason I did that is to allow the discretion for you in very specific emergency situations on a case by case of what that may be. Say if employees need to be sent home because the electric went out and there's a half an hour or an hour left of the day, that you may be able to just do administrative leave or something of that nature. Under wages, that section was only titled wages. I've expanded it to include everything else that's in there. So hopefully people can find those areas. And that includes evaluations, overtime, deferred compensation, those types of programs. The current policy indicates that new employees come in at the minimum rate. I've reflected that, especially with today's market and what we've had to do with current practice, that we can assign people to a higher than that minimum rate. And that's always based on qualifications, experience, and those parameters. That also applies to employees who have been promoted, that can be more than the minimum rate as negotiated. On the flip side of that, should an employee either voluntarily or involuntarily demote to a lower level position, we have made clear in there that they would accept a lower rate of pay based on that demotion. For probationary evaluations, I've updated language to correspond with Chapter 2, referencing the 180-day probationary period as opposed to our current 120 days. That allows additional time for both parties to make sure that that's a good fit. There's also language in there that an employee will be requested to sign their evaluation. That has been changed to required. When an employee is asked to sign their evaluation, it is receipt only. It is not agreement with. There is a section in our evaluations that allows an employee to write comments or anything that they feel they want to add to that. So we do have in there that they'll be required to sign it. I did have in there the right that if they refuse, it could be in subordination. We can leave that or not. Presently, if someone refuses to sign, managers are just writing refuse to sign.
That was the only one that Sandy and you and I talked about, is taking a review of that one area again. Not requiring a signature. And secondly, of having someone else come in to be witness to the fact that even though the employee is not signing, that they do sign. Two people witness that. That doesn't mean that they are insubordinate. They just are refusing to sign it, and then they could give whatever information they want to add to it later on. Even though there is space for it then, they may need time, but not to make it indicate a receipt as a refusal. And that's one area I think we just needed to talk about a clarification on, if you would, please. Thank you.
Any other comments on that section? Yeah. Under benefits, we've updated language in there under our current healthcare benefits. So you may recall when we did the healthcare presentation, we talked about having to change the effective date of benefits. Our policy still had the prior language where it was first of the month after 60 days. That had not gotten updated. I thought it had. So that is my, I apologize for that. So we have been issuing benefits 30 days from hire. Moving to Anthem and Sebco, they do full month premiums. So we had to change it to the first of the month after hire, or after 30 days, sorry. So the policy now reflects correctly what we are doing effective January 1, and that will be first of the month after 30 days. That way, employees, if they're billed a full month premium, they get a full month coverage based on that as well. Our current policy remains that in somebody leaves, they are still covered through the end of the month, regardless of what day they leave. Under meetings and conferences, there's reference to training being mandatory, what the board requires, and that training gets reimbursed. I've kind of changed that from required, because there's obviously training that may not be required or mandated, but would be beneficial to employees or their career paths. So I've changed that to reflect that, and it also said it was a condition of continuing employment. I've removed that as an employment contingency. The basis for that is everybody has a position description, so if there's certain requirements for training or certifications, that is already within their job description. If they no longer meet that, that's a different path, but I've taken it out of the policy and related to what the board would do with somebody requesting to attend a meeting or training, if that makes sense. Under reimbursement for travel expense, that one has been more recently updated, but there was a reference to pre-tax on tipping, and I've taken out the word pre-tax. Most people go right to the bottom of what the total is, and the calculations they do for you is based on that as well. So I don't know if the board has any feedback on that or not. Under other leave, there is language about administrative leave being paid or unpaid. I've included as a potential reason the board may approve unpaid leave is if there is a employee who has not yet accrued vacation, or they have extended, or they don't have enough vacation. This comes in a lot with our new hires. Right now, under our current policy, they don't accrue vacation for a year. So sometimes an employee may have had a pre-planned vacation when we hired them, and the board has approved unpaid leave for that reason. So that's what that policy change was intended to reflect, the ability to do that if we need to. Fitting time with our veterans presentation today. There is policy on military leave. Unfortunately, our policy has reflected military leave being unpaid. That is not correct. There is language in law that states they have the right to paid leave for some military leave, so we have corrected that. Disability reinstatements has also been changed. That is at the state level. It is no longer 3 years, it is 2 years. So I've reflected that change as well. That is pretty much the changes on Chapter 4.
Yeah, great reading.
Yeah, that's
Just saying, just quick on the changes that reflect like a state law change. Is it better to just reflect that section? I don't know if it's a specific section of code, to reflect the section of code. So as that changes, ours automatically changes with it. Is that something that you thought about?
Yes, and there are parts within the policy I've actually inserted the hyperlinks.
Okay.
For that reason, but as an employee personnel policy, when an employee grabs a policy to see, not all of them are versed at reading ORC, OAC, and Code of Federal Regulations like we are. So we try to give enough of here's your rights or benefits. This will, obviously we all know this policy hasn't been maintained the way that it should. It should be a living document. If things change, we should be keeping it more current. And that is the goal moving forward.
Okay.
But absolutely, the links do help for those. Like I did a link to definitions. I did a link to certain areas because that is the best way to do it because it can change so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy, thanks.
Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up for staff county elected officials discussion, Ralph Lenny. Ralph's here to give us an initial briefing on the county master plan process.
Yes, commissioners. You approved the contract earlier in, I think, October. We had our first kickoff meeting on the 18th of October with Illuma. It went very well. Facilities was also in attendance. We sat down and discussed exactly what the scope of the services would be, what the expectations that county administration had from our consultant. They came back with us with this week with a schedule of activities in order to meet the end date that we're shooting for this process to be done for the master planning. Also, they put together a draft letter that will go out to the affected people that we will need to interview. We reviewed that. I sent that back to them, and we are looking at having that letter go out probably the second week of November. The plan is for them to come and evaluate the condition of the buildings between the second week in November and the end of December, and have that part done by professionals working with the facilities department and Jessica to make sure that everything's looked at, reviewed. Any information that we already have on the conditions of the buildings will be provided to them. We have already provided them a layout of what the buildings are and projects that has been done, as well as a reference to the previous master plan that had been done about 5 to 6 years ago. Then, starting in January, we will have meetings set up with each of the affected departments or elected officials to see what they think their needs are for the next 5, 10, and 20 years so that we can have a plan that we have for our facilities to be able to give to you, all the commissioners, to look at, and from there, make plans of how we go forward from a financial standpoint, as well as how we will implement that in stages that best benefits the employees and taxpayers in the county.
Awesome.
Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions, board?
I'm just glad we're getting it rolling.
All righty.
Thank you for all
Ralph,
that
when
work.
will we get something, a substantial outline of exactly what they're going to look at?
I will provide it to each of you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on that. And Jessica, thank you.
Anyone else for staff or elected official discussions?
No, sir.
Nope. Before we move on, I'll go back one more time. Are there any additions to the agenda?
We have personnel actions in the Clermont County Kennel to add to the agenda.
Board, you've heard the need for a personnel action at the Clermont County Animal Shelter. Do I have a motion to add it to the agenda?
I'll make the motion to add.
I'll second.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, and Sandy, podium's yours.
I have 3 personnel actions. Would you prefer to do them one at a time or collectively?
We'll do them one at a time.
Okay. The first personnel action is for Timothy Pappas, Chief Dog Warden, end paid administrative leave effective November 4th, 2024.
Board, you've heard the need to end the administrative leave for Timothy Pappas, our Chief Dog Warden. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any conversation or questions? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Second one.
Second one is for Timothy Pappas, Chief Dog Warden, suspension disciplinary without pay for 24 hours, effective November 4th, 2024 through November 6th, 2024.
Board, you've heard the need for a discipline with pay action. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second discipline without pay.
Mhm. It's been moved in second. Any further questions, clarifications? Sandy, just before we move on there, that 48 hours, that's 3 8-hour shifts. Is that what that is?
24-hour suspension based on an 8-hour shift, correct?
Okay, got it. Anything else, board?
No.
Roll call.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Next one.
And the last personnel action is for Anthony Woolery, Deputy Dog Warden, end the temporary job change. He was the interim chief. That end of temporary job change will be effective November 7th, 2024.
Board, you've heard the need for this temporary job change. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Anything else, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we move to item number J. Item number J is member comments. Board members, any comments? Wanted to go over? Obviously, we had a pretty full agenda today. A couple things for the veterans there.
I
Always a
think
good
we
thing.
Do a time change this weekend, do we not?
Yes, we do.
I believe that is correct, isn't it?
Hey, you get an extra hour of sleep.
There you go.
The only comment I'd like to make is to remind everyone that the Fields of Honor are going up. Saturday will start the day to be able to see them. All the flags will be posted by the Kiwanis of East Fork. They'll be in the fields or open areas by the Sheriff's Office, West Clermont High School, Bethel, and Williamsburg. It's just a great show of patriotism and honor for those who not only have served in the service prior and are currently in service, but also to all of our responders who are out there every day making sure that we are safe. And it's a great thing to walk through just to bring your family, bring your children, and let them experience the real love for America that people have.
And it's a great feeling to drive past one of those areas and see all those flags.
And hope there isn't a lot of wind because it's not
Oh,
fun
they're
to
supposed
back up.
And
we're gonna
tomorrow's
start-
trick or treat, and it's supposed to be windy and rainy and
Oh, great.
Are we gonna, is that going to start over at the sheriff's office, 8 o'clock in the morning?
And 8:30 in the morning is when it starts on Saturday. They'll
Anything
make it
else,
any
board?
earlier. No, that's all. Thank you.
That it? Then I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Then moved in second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes, we stand adjourned. Thank you for attending this meeting, October the 30th, 2024. We look forward to seeing you not next week, right? We off next week?
We are
Week
not,
after.
we are not here next week.
Okay. And don't forget to vote. Thank you.